Hey there friends, and welcome to another video. Today, we're going to be talking about what villains will be coming to Suicide Squad post-launch. Now, this is not based off of any of the info or anything from the alpha. I basically am just ignoring that for this specific video. If that stuff becomes public later on, I will talk about that more. So any info in this video is simply based off of trailer info and how likely they are to appear based off of other things. So this is based off of multiple different factors: how popular the character is, could they bring unique gameplay, have they appeared in the Arkham universe before and how that could affect them, like, you know, if they were dead, have they appeared in any movies. And even though I do think some post-launch characters won't use guns, I'm sure a majority of them will use guns, so if they've used them in the past in the comics and such, that will affect if I think they will be in the game. While I don't think it's 100% necessary for them to have been a member in the comics, it definitely would make them more likely to appear if they have been a member of the squad before. And lastly is how well they can move around and if they have a good option for a traversal ability, because they don't have a good way of getting around. I'm not sure how well that would work in this game, because as you can tell from a lot of the trailers, you have to jump around a lot. So if you're someone like Two-Face who is got no ways of doing that, that's not going to work well. And lastly is how difficult it would be to get this character in the game, because for some characters it doesn't matter how popular they are, because for some of them it just would not work with how the game is or work in a game in general. I mean, if you look at a character like Giganta, she's probably would be too big for any game, so characters like that probably aren't going to happen. Anyways, sorry about the super long intro. Let's go ahead and get started. First off is Poison Ivy, and the reason I'm starting with her is the fact that she seems like she may already be in the game based off of the trailers. You can see a whole bunch of different odd plants and even plants bursting out of the ground at one of the trailers. And the weird thing with her is that she died in Arkham Knight, but I don't see any of the other characters that have plant powers showing up, like Swamp Thing. Now, how would they do that? Well, just simply reviving her with a plant body or something, or them just saying that the her that died was a plant body or something, because she does have fake bodies and stuff sometimes, so who knows. So even if they don't add her as a playable character, I see her being a part of the game either way, and that's not even a post-launch thing. I think she's going to be in the game at launch. As for her abilities, if they were to add her later, because I do think that at launch she won't be playable, but maybe they will add her later, they can kind of do whatever they want with her traversal. She can ride plants, she could summon plant creatures to lift her or whatever. They could do whatever they want with her other abilities too, just because Poison Ivy can do a whole lot of different stuff. One thing that does make her less likely, in my opinion, is to be playable is simply the fact that I do not see her in any way ever using guns. Next, we're going to go over some of the villains we already know are in the game and how likely I think they would be to be added as playable later on. Now, we already know Penguin is in the game, but is not playable and supplies weapons for the team. I don't see him ever appearing in the game as a playable character though. It just wouldn't make a lot of sense. He's not a character you really expect to be running around shooting people. And similarly to Penguin, we know GIZMO is in the game, and I also don't think we will see him as a playable character, but it is more likely that we see him over Penguin. Similarly to Penguin, any villains like Two-Face, Penguin, Black Mask, Riddler, all are extremely unlikely because they don't really do any fighting, but they could still show up in like a support role, supplying weapons or stuff like that. Maybe having like techie characters be tech support or something. I don't know. Next is Lex Luthor, one of the most popular DC villains, and we already know that he will be in the game in a non-playable role, but it is possible he could be playable later on. But from a story perspective, I don't see them being able to get away with putting a bomb in his head, because it seems like he still has LexCorp and stuff in this universe, and unless he teams up with Brainiac, I don't think that the government would be able to arrest him really. So don't see that happening, honestly, but it is still technically a possibility. Now we're going to get into the main ones that I really think are likely, starting with Deathstroke. Deathstroke is one of the most likely characters to appear. He was hinted as a member all the way back in Arkham Origins and has been mentioned in the trailers as well. On top of that, he is extremely popular. It's less if he will be added and more when he will be added, because I do not see any way where he is not added to the game at some point. If Deathstroke is added, he would likely be somewhat of a combination of Deadshot and Harley, having similar guns to Deadshot, you know, sniper, assault rifle, and having a grappling hook like Harley. But I don't think that he would have like a bat drone or anything like Harley does, but I think that they'll probably come up with something else to give him instead of that. Now, next we're going to go through a lot of the characters from the two Suicide Squad films, because I really do think that the characters that have appeared in films are going to be more likely to be in this game just because they're more well known, and obviously they want this game to be purchased by a lot of people, and they gotta appeal to the largest market possible. Starting with Polkadot Man. Polkadot Man, having been in the Suicide Squad film, does improve the likelihood by a lot, as well as the popularity from it. If he is added, I would see his powers being very similar to the film. Next is El Diablo. El Diablo's unique powers definitely help his likelihood of being added. The main issue with him would be I do not see a good idea for his traversal. I don't know a lot about the character, but unless he can like launch himself into the air with his flames or something, I don't see him being added to the game. Next is the Enchantress. I really don't know with her. She would definitely be unique for sure, and they could do basically whatever they want with her having magic and stuff, but she also isn't the most popular character, and she kind of is a bit of a disliked character because of the way that the movie portrayed her with the weird belly dancing thing. Really, really weird. So I don't think she will be added, and I also definitely do not think she would ever use weapons like a gun, so I don't think that she will be coming. Next is Katana. I'm not sure exactly how they could make her different enough, but possibly leaning into the Soul Sword, giving it more powers like magical stuff or something could help. The issue with Katana mainly is the traversal, but maybe if they do what I said with the sword, she could use it to somehow move around, you know, like teleport with it or something. Now, Killer Croc is honestly one I see as a very likely one. He's relatively popular. The main issue is that in Arkham Knight, they made him a lot bigger, and I don't know how they could make that version of him work unless they change him back to the city design or a entirely new design closer to the city size, because he is just going to be too big, I feel like. One issue would be that he would be too similar to King Shark, although that may be one of the reasons that they actually choose him, because he might be easier to make because of that. If he is added to the game, I'd see him being very similar to King Shark, having the jumps and such similar to him, crawling up the walls and stuff with his claws. Similarly, you may not know this, but he actually does use guns sometimes, and at least according to the Arkhamverse, one of the games, I can't remember which one, you can find confiscated guns, so it would make sense, at least in this universe, that he uses a gun or whatever. Next is Rick Flag. Now, Rick Flag is a pretty important Suicide Squad character, really only second to Amanda Waller. So even if he isn't in the game at launch, he definitely will be added later on. Will he be playable or just an NPC mission person? I'm leaning more towards the latter, because what do you think will be more popular to add to the game? Killer Croc or normal guy with gun? Probably Killer Croc or one of these other characters. Next is Ratcatcher, both the original and the second one. I don't see either coming to the game just because I don't see the rat abilities working well in a game like this, and there's also the fact that the performance of the game, specifically the FPS, would most likely plummet with having hundreds of rats on the screen. I mean, there's probably ways to program around that, but also I just don't know if having rat abilities is something that people would find desirable. Now, Bloodsport is definitely a possibility, but I also think he would be too similar to Deathstroke and Deadshot, and Deathstroke feels like a must, so I don't see Bloodsport as a super likely character, but if they wanted a relatively easy character to make, Bloodsport is a good choice to add to the game, and he is also pretty popular. Now, you might think this is odd coming after what I just said about Bloodsport, but Peacemaker is so popular now with the Suicide Squad film and his show. In my opinion, it's just a matter of time before he shows up. Now, I would expect him to show up around the time of Peacemaker Season 2, and since that's going to be a few years, I wouldn't expect him anytime soon, but I do think that they will add him. His abilities would likely be based around his helmets and stuff, maybe launching him into the air, just kind of random stuff. They can kind of do whatever they want with that. Now, despite his popularity, I do not see Vigilante coming to the game. If any character like this was added to the game, I'd see it being Peacemaker and Deathstroke way before him. Plus, Vigilante's never really been associated with the Suicide Squad before, so it's still possible, but I don't see it as likely. Now, that wasn't actually a character from the movies, but as for the rest of the characters from the Suicide Squad movies, TDK, Mongal, Savant, Weasel, Javelin, the Thinker, I don't see any of them coming at it all to the game. Maybe Thinker could be a support character, like gives you info and mission stuff. Now, Mr. Freeze is most likely dead after Arkham Knight because he left on the boat and whatever, but if they truly wanted to add him to the game, they could easily say that Argus or the government found him on the boat and arrested him for his many crimes and put him on the squad. Next is Killer Frost. Now, I do expect us to get some sort of ice-powered character at some point, they already have freezing effects in the game, so I would definitely think that we will get one. If we don't get Mr. Freeze, which I don't see us getting, I think Killer Frost or Captain Cold is definitely a must-have for the game, and Killer Frost being female honestly gives her the edge because they definitely need to add more variety so that not all of the characters are male. And if they were to add her and him, she could easily be made different with her ice stuff being more sharp and stabby rather than just freezing ray. As mentioned before is Captain Cold. Now, if they don't do Frost, I think Cold would be the second choice, but they could do both, like I said before. For the traversal for him, I think it would be really cool if he had like the ice bridges that he had in like the Injustice 2 game. I guess Killer Frost could also do that. I think that if they do that, it'll probably be something like that for the traversal because I don't see any other good ways for them to get around. If they do Captain Cold, I would think that they would do the non-New 52 Ice Powers version and give him the ice gun, just because I think that that's the more well-known version. Now, Black Manta is super popular, and I would definitely expect him eventually, but I don't know if that would be anytime soon. Now, if this game hadn't been delayed, I would have expected Black Manta to release around the time of the new Aquaman movie that's releasing this month, but because of how popular Black Manta is and he actually has relations to the squad in the past, it would definitely make sense to add him to the game. Now, next is Reverse Flash. I'm simply bringing up this one because I've seen a lot of people on the internet, talking about how cool it would be to have Reverse Flash, and I do not see Reverse Flash being added just due to the high difficulty of making a good, fun-to-play-as character that can go so fast and make them work well in the game, and they already gave Boomerang speed abilities with his little wrist thing, so I just don't see Reverse Flash being very likely. Plus, he definitely wouldn't use a gun, so really don't see any chance of Reverse Flash coming to the game. Now, we definitely need some more Superman villains, and Livewire is certainly a possibility. She's relatively popular and could bring a unique set of powers to the game with her electric powers. Bane is a pretty popular character and could be a fun addition. It'd probably be pretty similar to CROC and King Shark though, if CROC was added to the game. Now, Bane could also have unique mechanics with his Venom component. This was a bit of a different kind of video, kind of more just discussing what I think's gonna happen. So let me know if you do enjoy this type of video. Maybe I'll do some more like this. Also, sorry that this video took so long to come out. It was supposed to be out on Monday, which is actually when I'm recording this. I've been super busy, literally haven't even turned on my computer in days. I wrote the script a few days ago when I released that roadmap, but I just have been super busy and never got around to making the actual video. So sorry it's taking so long. I'm not sure when exactly this will be posted, but anyways, let's go ahead and end the video. Thanks for watching. Goodbye, like and subscribe.